Hello, welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company and Elon Musk. Today's episode, we're going to look at this document, which has been submitted to Hawthorne City Council. It's in regards to both the loop elevator and also the shaft that is being constructed as we speak. It contains a lot of interesting information in regards to how they're going to build that loop elevator, what sort of machinery they're going to use on site, what are the conditions of building and operating that particular loop elevator. It comes with a lot of conditions actually, which is fair. That's why we have regulations. We've got to be good neighbours to everyone. So let's have a look, guys. So, existing test tunnel. The Boring Company was previously approved and is in the process of constructing a 2-mile long tunnel for the research and development of a zero-emission underground travel option for personal vehicles, extending from the SpaceX property located at 12200 Crenshaw Boulevard, under 120th Street, to the intersection of, 120th Street and Hawthorne Boulevard. Now, we already know that. The key bit is this bit here, which is in regards to the proposed test elevator and spur. So we have the full address. It refers to it as a spur, which is a new word for me. However, I think in future episodes I will begin to use that word because it's pretty relevant to this channel. What else is contained? Here we go. So project description. And it also has established operational requirements, including the public use of the test elevator / spur shall not occur. So basically, you're not going to let people drive vehicles from the SpaceX shaft all the way to this spur here and then actually take the vehicle or even just take people out. That's what it's not there to do that. That'll add additional traffic to 120th Street, and it may also disturb the neighbours, although it probably won't. You know, NIMBYs. So at this moment in time, they're not allowed to actually use it or have any functional purpose to that particular spur and shaft other than just to do testing, which is fine. We can always apply for approval at a later date to get it used as a full loop station or micro station. Cars may not enter / exit the test elevator spur from the residential property and must only exit the test elevator spur via the SpaceX property on Crenshaw Avenue. There shall be no obvious signs of the presence of the test elevator spur, and the property shall appear and function as a private residence. So the idea is kind of to camouflage it and make sure it looks like existing buildings in that area, which it will do from the plans that we'll look at in a minute, and therefore people are not going to be affected by its appearance. What else have we got? So the existing garage will be demolished and a new 975 square foot garage, which is 26 foot by 37 by 6 inches foot, or 37 foot by 6 inches, would be constructed in the rear to contain the test elevator. The garage will be set back 2 feet 6 inches from the rear property line abutting 120th Street. The facade of the existing residence would be upgraded. It looks in terrible disrepair. If you remember back to my previous episode, it does need some work doing to it. So it's only going to help people that live in the area already. It'll improve their property values once this has been upgraded. And a new drought-tolerant landscape will be installed because at the moment 95% of the grass is just dead. The test elevator would drop approximately 40 feet from the floor of the garage to the new tunnel spur, and an electric elevator would raise lower vehicles from the tunnel spur to the garage. The opening of the test elevator is approximately 20 foot long and 10 foot wide, which is exactly what I predicted in, I think was my second or third episode, which is pretty standard because it's going to be the size of essentially a large car. As you can see, construction hours are limited between 9 AM and 5 PM, which is good practice. You don't want people working till late in the night, and you certainly don't want people starting work at 6 in the morning. I've worked on jobs where people do like to turn up at 6 in the morning, and it upsets a lot of people, especially when you've got heavy goods vehicles, big vans and trucks turning up. The rest of this is pretty standard stuff. We already know it. What else is there? So, we've got a nice picture from above. As you can see, all the properties along here, 119th Place, have some kind of rear sort of buildings here. Some of them are garages, maybe some of them are tool sheds, maybe some of them are just general purpose buildings. As you can see, this one here, which is the one the Boeing company has purchased, has nothing at the rear other than that existing garage, which is going to be demolished. Therefore, it makes perfect sense that this is used for the loop elevator, and it's covered in what looks like a timber garage or garage, whatever you guys like to call it. Let's zoom out a bit. Existing plan. Here's the existing residence, which is in quite what would be the best word to use. It's in bad nick. It doesn't look nice. It's not been well cared for, hence why they're going to upgrade it. This is the existing garage, which is also in bad nick and needs some work doing to it, but it's just going to get torn down. Here's 120th Street, and here's 119th. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of land here for use by the Boeing company. Here is the plans for what they intend to do. We'll have a new parking structure here. Let's zoom in so we can see a bit better. As you can see, it's 26 foot wide by 37 foot 6-inch long. They will build a new perimeter wall. They'll have some dwarf walls here, 4'8". These walls down this side and here are 8 foot tall. Here's a picture from above. So it's just your typical roof. As you can see, this is the garage. There's the existing residence, which is going to be upgraded. They have new walls here to the front. We're not really interested in that. This is the bit that we're interested in. This is the new garage, which is going to house the loop elevator. As you can see, we've got this double garage here and then a single here. There's stucco to the outside of the building. In the UK, we call that render, which is just a cement mortar based system for the outside of the building to make it look a bit more aesthetically pleasing. The ridge, 13 foot 1 inch high above the slab. 8 foot blockwork wall, which is very tall. Block out a lot of light, that. I'm surprised no one's complaining about it, but hey. Here's the side on. So this is what we really want to look at. Let's just zoom in again. As you can see, it's 20 foot long. Motor steel frame. This is 120th Street, so it's right on the tunnel, like you say, is right down the centre. in between the second and third lane. This secondary tunnel, or spur, is 10 foot from top to base. So that means that the actual reinforcements or the tunnel segments will be a foot deep, or 30 centimetres. Here's our first look at the actual diagram of the elevator. Not really much to see with that. It's probably just a very basic. I mean, I'm no lift engineer. I'm no expert in that area. I'm not a mechanical or an electrical engineer. However, it looks like it's being lifted in the corners. It'll probably look completely different to that when they build it, but then again, we'll have to see. So here's the garage again. We've got our 8 foot walls. Can fit cars in there, plenty of cars. There's actually a condition that if the Boring Company ever sells that property there, they then have to fill this shaft before they sell it, which I found quite interesting. I mean, I'd imagine that they would at some point convert that into a proper loop station. However, I'll have to see. They might just choose to put something elsewhere. Let's have a look what else there is. There's a short tunnel spur, gives the full address, 3834. The purpose of this project is to construct and utilise a test elevator and short tunnel spur as a proof of concept for developing a high-speed underground public transportation system called the Loop. The Loop would create a significant public benefit as a result of decreases in urban congestion, decreases in driving commute times, increases in public safety, decreases in public transit times. So again, those are the main advantages of the Boring system. Massive advantages over the metro system, the bus system, even using Ubers and taxis. Again, it mentions here this is a proof of concept. They're using this test shaft and test elevator to refine the technology they're going to use. They'll probably start off with quite a basic elevator design and then further improve on that. They may look at what size vehicles can use that shaft and just run it, see how fast they can run it. Who knows? But you've got to start somewhere. So when they actually do finish this project, which they're going to do in a very short period of time, I'll show you in a minute, it's only a 2-week job to demolish the existing garage and build the new garage at the rear and refurbish the house. They're saying like 2 weeks. But once that's all finished, they're only allowed to have 3 to 4 workers on site when they're conducting their tests on the Loop elevator. Which is not a lot, but then again, you probably don't need that many people. Also, it says here, only cars belonging to the residents will enter and leave the property at the surface, so they can't even drive to the site. They'd have to park on the road outside, which is a bit bizarre, but you know, you've just got to comply with it, haven't you? A perimeter wall around the property will be installed to ensure the property security and to block visual access from the street. Further, the garage, which will hold the test elevator, will be locked at all times. The tunnel will be blocked by the elevator platform itself, so that way no one can fall down. Let's get to the interesting stuff. I tried to read as much of this as I can. However, it's a long document. I've just cherry-picked the best bits. There may be things that I've missed. However, I don't think it would be that relevant anyway. Blah, 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 blah. Come on here. Here we go. This is project locating existing conditions and surrounding land uses. The Boring Company proposes to modify existing construction of the test tunnel at Prairie Avenue and construct a short lateral shaft for the test tunnel. So they purchased the carpentry shop, which is on the corner there of 120th Street, and that's where they're building that big shaft to remove the cutter head from the tunnel boring machine, and I presume to dismantle the tunnel boring machine as well. A test to permit additional tests of viable transportation, pedestrians and personal vehicles using the skate. Engines will test and experiment with personal vehicle types suitable for placement on the skates, refine the design and technology, and collect data on performance, durability and application. Project description. Here we go. So construction of the test elevator and spur is estimated to take approximately 2 weeks. So that's all they have to sink that shaft, build the spur and put the garage on top and refurbish the existing residence. And they can only work from 9 AM till 5 PM. So your only option in that case is just to flood the job with lots of men, because the last thing you want to do is overrun. So they potentially could have easily 20, 26, 30 men on site to ensure that they hit this 2-week target. They've got a lot of material to excavate, as I will come to. The test elevator and spur would be constructed via excavation and pipe jacking. So they have mentioned that in a previous document, but I didn't expect them to use it here. But in hindsight, it does actually make sense. With material hauled off site via 120th Street to I-105, all trucks would exit the 105 directly from Crenshaw Boulevard off on-ramps. Evacuating the shaft and spur would generate an estimated 1,000 cubic yards of earth, requiring about 6 to 7 haul trucks per day over 10 working days. So 70 trucks worth is a lot of traffic on that road. And they actually list out how they're going to do it and in what order, which is great. Pre-construction. I made a note here. Yeah, so conduct pre-construct conditions surveys. It's pretty standard in the UK that when you're working on a big infrastructure project, or even just a large residential project, to conduct pre-condition surveys of existing buildings, because the last thing you want to do is someone to turn up with a lawyer and say, hey, there's a 7mm crack down this wall and it's 6 meters long, and we believe it was caused by all your activity on site, and we're very upset, and it's caused us, immense harm, and therefore we're going to sue you for £12,000. That is the last thing you want to do. So you want to work with people that are operating businesses and properties in the area. Conduct pre-condition surveys of all buildings within, 60, 70 meters of the actual shaft, and then if people turn up, you can say, no, that was already there, that is a fraudulent lawsuit. So there we go. Demolition, removal of existing garage with a mini excavator and a backhoe. The debris is placed in the dumpster and hauled off site. Then they're going to excavate the actual shaft itself for the loop elevator using a mini excavator inside the shaft. Then they'll be using the ring beam system like they are using for the large shaft on 120th, or they're both on 120th Street, but you know which one I'm referring to, the one near the joinery workshop. Materials to be loaded into the shaft using a small crane. Well, yeah, how else are you going to get it in there? 50-ton squirt boom crane. I have no idea what a squirt boom is. It probably is a jib crane, which is probably the same thing. Soil to be removed from the shaft using a crane bucket and placed directly into dump trucks stage on 120th Street. So they're obviously going to need large numbers of men on site to ensure that when this is all being undertaken. I'm surprised they're only using one mini excavator actually, but maybe they can only fit one in there. yeah, they're gonna just spend a lot of time removing all the spoil from that excavation. Small grout mix on site for sealing annular space. So grout is a mixture of sand, cement and water, and maybe a plasticizer as well. It tends to have a lot more sand and a lot more water than, say, a mortar that you'd use to bond bricks together. And that is injected at high pressure into the ground, where you need to fill up spaces and generally tie the ground together. It acts a bit like a glue and a sealer. I've used that on a previous job because we were very concerned about mining activity that had happened in the area previously, and we had about 4 or 5 days of just pure grouting, very high pressure, and that fills all the spaces and hopefully should prevent most subsidence. The key word being most. There will be some settlement, it is inevitable, but it should be controlled settlement. So when all that's done, they've sunk the shaft the full 40 foot. They then need to produce the horizontal tunnel, or the spur. They're lowering the pipe jacking equipment, which is this beast of a machine. And did you know this is made in the UK, in Wellingborough? Very interesting. Something we're going to look at again on this channel, pipe jacking. It's something I don't know particularly well, however it is pretty interesting technology. Excavation using a loader and crane bucket, so like last time. And a loader. It looks a bit like a bulldozer, except that it can lift the front up, a bit like an excavator. It's got a huge bucket on the front. And that will go directly into the crane bucket, and then they put that straight into the dump truck, and then boom, they shoot off. Hydraulic pipe jack equipment is going to use electricity from the grid. So hydraulic pipe jacking is they build like the steel, it's almost like a ring beam, steel plates in the shape of a circle, and then they push that into the ground. Then they add another plate, push that into the ground until they get to near where they are joining, and then the rest of that can be excavated. And it saves you from having to painstakingly install reinforced concrete segments. Instead, you just sort of pushing it into the ground using hydraulic pressure. Small grout mixture on site for sealing annular space, again for the same thing, except you're doing it on the horizontal tunnel. Removal of middle in the excavator. Elevator construction. So once all that's done and all the spoil has been removed, they can then install the elevator, which they'll have to do rather quickly because they only have 2 weeks. Scaffold will be covered with a new garage using conventional construction methods. It looks to me like they're going to be using a timber frame, and they can probably put that up in a day. Very, very simple to build timber frames. I've got a lot of experience of working on timber buildings. You can just whip them up if it's all prefabricated sections. What else have we got? Exit tunnel construction plan. A shaft will be excavated at 4012 120th Street. So this is the big shaft. Same kind of thing. Removal of the asphalt and the concrete underneath in the shaft area with a mini excavator. Again, they put in a mini excavator into the shaft and then they just excavate it. They use the crane bucket to then remove that spoil from there straight into the dump trucks. And it just says TBM cut head removed from the shaft and placed on a flatbed truck. Worth noting that that cutter head will weigh in excess of 200, potentially 300 tons. It is a beast. It'd be somewhere in the 200 to 300 tons. It's very, very heavy duty stuff. The exit tunnel will be used to extract the boring machine and thereafter will be used only in case of emergency egress. A steel security plate will be installed to prevent unintended access. So that I should be referring to that as O'Leary Station, shouldn't I? So O'Leary Station is not actually a station because it's just blocked off and they can't use it. I believe at a future date they will use that to maybe launch another TBM, or maybe further down the line they might use it as a loop elevator station, but they won't build a loop elevator in this shaft. So in my previous videos I was actually incorrect saying that. The actual loop elevator will be constructed on the other site. Reasons why the project is exempt. It should be exempt because it's helping the environment, not hindering it. You know what NIMBY's like. Let's see what else I can find. I think this is about it, guys. Doing all the hard work for you, so you don't need to do it. I think we're back to more pictures. More pictures. So what do you think, guys? Have you got any questions? Is there anything that you're unsure about that you want me to talk about? Drop it in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Just in regards to the previous video that I posted, an apology. I posted it on the wrong channel. I only realised when I got back from work, and then obviously I just thought, well, I'll just post it anyway, and then I'll upload it again. But it takes me about 6.5 hours to upload a video. So if there was some confusion as to regards why it was on my personal channel, then that's why it hopefully shouldn't happen again. But you know, when you're tired, you make mistakes. It's not really much to say about this, guys. It's pretty standard stuff. There was one of the foundations here. Oh yeah, okay. So using a raft foundation, you can see they have what is called a wide toe, just to ensure that this wall here is adequately supported and that it's not going to push itself through the ground and shear off. That whole piece there will be reinforced with rebar, but yeah, we call that a wide toe. Something similar here. There's like a bit of a ring beam that goes around the elevator shaft, as there should be. And Bob's your uncle. Right, well, thank you for watching, guys. As always, don't be boring, and I'll see you soon. Thank you again. Goodbye.